Okay, so we're now going to go ahead and look at 3.4. And we're going to again talk about our lines. And so when we talk about graphing lines, we have 4 different outcomes, right? Diagonal line that goes up from left to right, diagonal line that goes down from left to right. We have a horizontal line, and we have a vertical line. Now, when we go to graph things, we can graph things based upon an equation in 2 points, right? We can plot the 2 points. We're also going to learn now how to graph a line when all you're given is a point and a slope. And then once we've talked about that, then we'll learn how to graph a line when all you're given is the equation. So let's talk about how to graph a line when you're given a point and a slope. So let's say you're given the point 3, 2, and you've got a slope of -4. So we know our slope is negative, so that means our line should be going down from left to right. Now, if we had 2 points, we would just simply plot the 2 points, and we would connect them together. In this case, we don't have 2 points, but we have a point and we have a slope. So we're going to begin by plotting our point. So let's find our 3, 2 and plot that point on our graph here. So 3, 2 is going to be right about there. So we went over 3 and we went up 2. Now what is our slope? Slope is defined as rise over run. And that's m. And in our case, it's going to be a -4 over 1, because our slope is a -4. If it's a whole number, you'll need to make it over 1. If it's negative, we go down. So this one is going to go down, and then you always go to the right. You're never, ever going to go to the left. So if it's positive, you move up. If it's negative, you move down. And you always go forward to the right, never back to the left. So how do we graph this line? Well, what we do is we take our point that we found here, and then we're going to go down 1 unit, and then we're going to go over 4 units. 2, 3, 4 units over. So we went down 1, and we went over 4. And that makes our new dot. So down 1. Wait a minute. Sorry. I wasn't thinking I did it backwards. My mistake. Sorry about that. We go down 4. My mistake. Down 4 and over 1. So we're going to go down 4. So there's my point. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry about that. I just looked at it wrong. So we're going to go down 4. And then we're going to go over 1. And that makes my point right there. Rise over run. So we're going to go down 4, over 1. Now, once we have our 2 points, we can now connect them together. So we plotted our original, and then we used our slope to move from there. Why did we go down? We went down because our slope was what? Our slope was negative. So that made it go down. So there's your line. So you went down 4 over 1. And sorry about the mix-up there. I just wasn't thinking for a second. Try another one. And again, we're going to graph this line. I'm going to give you an ordered pair. So let's say you're given the ordered pair -1, +3. And let's say we have a slope of +3/5. So what do I need to do? Well, first things first, plot that point. So -1, +3 would be back 1 unit, and then up 3 units. So back 1 and up 3. So the very first thing I do is I plot my point. Now your slope again is rise over run. And in our case, it's 3/5. So that means we're going to have to go up 3 units and over 1 unit. Sorry, over 5 units. So up 3, over 5. Always go to the right, never to the left. We're going to go up because our slope is what? Our slope is positive. We plotted our point at -1, +3. We're going to have to go up 3 more units. So we're going to have to go up 3, and then we're going to go over 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so up 3 and over 5. And that makes our point right there. Now, once you have that second point, then you can connect them together. Okay, so there is our line. Now, what about a zero slope and what about an undefined slope? What do we know about a zero slope? Remember, a zero slope is a horizontal line. Undefined slope is a vertical line. So let's do one of each just to make sure we remember the difference between zero slope and an undefined slope. So we're going to now graph 2 more of these. One's going to have a zero slope and one of them is going to have an undefined slope. So you're always going to be given a point. How about 5, 4? And let's say this one has a zero slope. What do we know about a zero slope? Well, a zero slope is going to be a horizontal line. That's just one of our facts. Remember, we have 4 types of lines. It can be a diagonal going up if it's positive. It can be a diagonal going down if it's negative. Horizontal line if your slope is 0. Vertical line if your slope is undefined. So this one is a horizontal line because our slope is 0. So how do we graph it? Same way we did the last 2. We plot our point. So 5, 4 is over 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And right there it is at 5, 4. So there's my point. Now, our slope is 0. So since it's 0, we know it's a horizontal line. So we don't need another point or anything else. We know it's a horizontal line. So I just draw a horizontal line that goes through that 5, 4. So horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Next, we'll look at undefined. Okay? Undefined is going to be a vertical line. So we're going to graph the following line. And let's see, you're given a point -2, -3, and your slope is undefined. Well, we know it's undefined. So if it's undefined, that means it's going to be a vertical slope. Vertical line. Undefined slope is a vertical line. And what do we need to do to graph this? We simply plot our point and we draw a vertical line. So -2 minus 3 is going to be right here. And that's going to make a vertical line. Why is it again a vertical line? Because my slope is undefined. Very important that you remember those facts for the next course, because when you take the next course, which is intermediate algebra, we do a lot of graphing, and you need to remember slope of 0 is a horizontal line. Slope that's undefined is a vertical one. Now, since we know how to graph a line when you're given a point and a slope, we can now use that to graph lines when all you're given is an equation. When you're given an equation, we want to make sure that you have it in what's called slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Now the m is your slope, and the b is your y-intercept. And that's 0, comma b. If it's in slope-intercept form, what we can do is we can get the slope, and we can get the y-intercept, which is a point. So we're just going to be doing the exact same thing that we did earlier when we graphed a line when we were given a point and a slope, but we have to get the point and the slope from our equation. So I'm going to do one that's already done for us, and then I'll do a couple where we have to solve it for y. So this one's going to already be done. And we're going to go ahead and graph this line here. And let's go ahead and graph this line, y equals 5x minus 2. So this one's already been solved for y. So there's nothing we really need to do. Now we do need to get either 2 points, or we need to get a point and a slope. We can get the point and the slope from our equation. The 5, since it's been solved for y, the 5 in front of the x, well, that represents your slope. So there's half of it. And the negative 2, well, that's going to be your y-intercept. And that would be then 0, comma, negative 2. Now we have what we need. We have a point and we have a slope. So now we can graph this line. So we plot our point. 0, negative 2 is going to be down 2 units on our y-axis. So it's down 2. And then what's our slope? Our slope is 5, and your slope is rise over run. And so that's going to be 5 over 1. It's positive, so we go up 5, and then over 1 unit. Where do we start at? Start at our point that we found right here. What are we going to do? From this point, go up 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're going to have to go up 5 units, and then you're going to go over 1 unit. Make your second dot. Now that you have the 2 dots, you can connect them together, and that gives you your line. That's how we graph one of those. Let's try another one. Now that one was already solved for y. If it's not solved for y, then you're going to have to solve it for y. So let's try and graph this one. How about we have 4x minus 7y equals 0. This one has not been solved for y, so the first step is going to be solve it for y. So first, solve for y. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to do, is we want to go ahead and solve this for y. So we move that 4x over, And then we've got a minus 7y equals a minus 4x. We divide by our minus 7. And now we have y equals 4/7 x. I picked this one on purpose because there's no number on the end. Like the last one, there was a minus 2 on the end. So we started down 2 units. This one doesn't have a number. So if there is no number on the end, what do you think it's going to probably be? It's going to probably be 0, right? Okay. So if there's nothing on the end, then we're going to start at 0 because we can add on 0 if we want to. We don't need to, but it's there. So what's my slope? 4/7. What's my point? What's my y-intercept? 0, 0. So the y-intercept goes with the number on the end, and if there's no number there, we just add in a 0. Now we've got everything we need to graph this line. We have a point, 0, 0, and we have our slope. So we're going to start at our point, 0, 0. What's my slope? Well, the rise over the run is 4/7. So we're going to have to go up 4 and over 7. Start at 0, 0. Your starting point is 0, 0 in this case. So we started our 0, 0, and we're going to go up 4 and then over 7. So up 4, over 7, and we make our dot. There it is. Connect them together, and we get our line. I do want to do one more of these before we look at vertical and horizontal lines. So one more that's a diagonal. So let's try and graph this next one. And how about we have 5x minus 6y equals 12. I want us to graph this. So what do we need to do? Well, we can either graph this by getting 2 points, which is the long way of doing it. That's what we did back in 3-2. We made our table, we got our 2 points. Or we can graph it when we have a point and a slope. And how can we get the point and the slope? Solve our equation for y. Very important that we remember how to do that for slope-intercept form. We use slope-intercept form a lot. So I'm going to move my 5x over with subtraction. That leaves me then with a minus 6y equals minus 5x plus 12. Divide by your negative 6, and be very careful with your signs. And a lot of us still want to make sign errors. We just need to make sure we keep those to a minimum. So watch for sign errors. The left-hand side comes out to be a y. Negative and negative here makes it positive 5/6 x. And 12 over negative 6, well, that makes it then a negative 2. Okay, so now it's been solved for y, so we can get our slope. So my slope m is 5/6, and our y-intercept is 0, negative 2. So what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to go ahead and plot our point. at 0, -2. So that's down 2 units. My slope is, again, rise over run, which is 5/6. It's positive, so we go up 5, and we go over 6. Take your time and make your triangle. So we're going to go up 5 from our point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we went 5 units up, and then we're going to go 6 units over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units over. Make our dot, and then we connect them together. Okay. Let's talk quickly about how to graph a Y line and an X line. All right, so what do we have here? Well, we only have one variable, and the only variable that we have is the Y. Now, if we have two variables, it's a diagonal line. We only have the Y, remember, it's going to be a horizontal line. So Y is horizontal. X line only would be a vertical one. So this is a Y line. Now, we need to make sure that we get that variable Y by itself. So if it's not been solved for Y yet, we need to do that. So we're going to move that 7 over. And that gives us then Y equals a -7. This is a Y line, so it's horizontal. We find out where Y is a -7. So that's going to be 7 units down on the Y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be 7 units down. And then we know it's a horizontal line, so we went down 7 units. And we draw our line across here. Okay. So if it's a Y line, then you simply just solve it for Y, find out where it's at, make a horizontal line. X lines are going to have an undefined slope, and they're going to be a vertical line. So how about we try and graph X equals -3. So there's not much on this one. We want to graph X equals -3. We know that it's going to be a vertical line, right? Because X lines are vertical. So vertical line here already has been solved for X. So where is X going to be a -3? Well, this is your X-axis. And it's going to be back 1, 2, 3. We have it. Take our line. Take our ruler here, or straight edge. Draw your vertical line, and that's it. So that's going to take care of that. Now let's look at function notation. And function notation is no different than using the Y. So the only thing we need to remember is that when we go to look at these and work through them, f of x means the same as y. So f of x is going to mean the same thing as y. And sometimes we use function notation. So for the next one, I'm going to have you graph it, find the slope and the y-intercept. F of x is the same thing as having a y value, so they can be used interchangeably. So now, when we go to graph this and work with it, we know that f of x is the same as y. So f of x and y can be used interchangeably. So that means that we now can rewrite this as y equals 4x minus 3. Now we can get our slope, and we can get our y-intercept. So it's been solved for y. F of x, remember, is the same as y, so they can be used interchangeably. So my slope is 4, and my y-intercept would be 0, negative 3. That's going to be 0, negative 3 there. How do we graph this line? Well, we plot our point at 0, negative 3. So that's going to be down 3 units. And that's right here, 0, negative 3. And then what are we going to do from this 0, negative 3? We're going to have to go up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 4 units up and 1 unit over. Because our slope is 4 over 1, so up 4 over 1. So up 4 units over 1 unit. Make our dot, connect them together. So that's how we graph that. I want to do one more of these, and then we'll talk a little bit more about equations. But I think we'll take a break after we do the next one. And then we'll come back and we'll finish up this section, because this section has quite a bit in it after we do the graphing. So we'll come back, we'll finish up this section after we do one more problem. So again, on this one, I want you to graph, find the slope, and the y-intercept. And let's use f of x equals 5. Sometimes students get confused because of the f of x. Well, we know that f of x is the same as y. So this is the same as y. So I can rewrite this now, if I chose to, as y equals 5. So I can rewrite that f of x equals 5. It's what's called a constant function, and you'll hear that more in the next course. But constant functions are horizontal lines. So this is called a constant function. It's going to be a horizontal line. Now, if it is a horizontal line, that means my slope is 0. So my slope in this case is 0 because it's a horizontal line. What about my y-intercept? Well, my y-intercept, we've got the 5 there. So my y-intercept as an ordered pair would be 0, 5. Let's go ahead and graph this horizontal line at 0, 5. So that's up 5. Okay, so there's that your line at 0, 5. Now, what's our slope? 0. So that's going to now be a horizontal line. And that's what it should look like. Okay. So let's take a short break. We're going to come back, just about a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll finish up this section and maybe start part of the next one. The last part of this section and the next section are algebraic. So not much graphing. It's just going to be calculations. So we'll come back here in about 10 minutes. So let's meet back here at about 10:40.